Hello, I'm Jonah Guelzo. Throughout the last few years, I've had the privilege to meet and work alongside some incredibly talented creative minds, serving the film industry, both mainstream and independent alike. In this week's Rode highlight, I got to speak with the digital matte painter Tim Matney.
The war between vampire and lichen has raged for centuries.
From Underworld Evolution, The Golden Compass, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Matney's skill for visual trickery has transported us into augmented realities and magical new worlds.
I am a digital matte painter, which is what we called ourselves these days. The matte painters used to be the guys who painted on 6-foot pieces of glass for in-camera compositing, where they shot the 6-foot piece of glass and exposed it with an original negative. I am a digital matte painter, and we do everything digitally. We make backgrounds, we extend sets, paint fix-its, all done through Photoshop and then composited back onto the original shots. When I was a kid, I was forever playing with my action figures and creating dioramas and drawing and doodling and reading comic books and fantasy and sci-fi books, so I've always been kind of drawn to this industry. I mean, ever since I saw Star Wars as a kid. I think where it sets me apart from many is my versatility. My background is as a 3D artist, so I'm not afraid of doing things in 3D. I was one of the first people to start doing 3D camera projections. I've started now moving into compositing, mostly in Nuke, because I find that, marriage of matte painting and compositing is hand-in-hand. That's what you do as a professional matte painter. You don't finish your matte paintings. Compositors finish your matte paintings. You break them apart for other artists to finish for you. Matte painting began as a money-saving camera trick. It was a way to fake sets and locations that were just too prohibitive to build. I'm able to save any production a lot of money. I worked on a Boost mobile commercial with a giant grocery store manager. I Greeked product labels on a grocery store shelf. I changed Aunt Jemima to Uncle James just so they wouldn't have to pay the royalties to the company for it. When I worked on Benjamin Button for Digital Domain, I was working as a texture artist, and we were working just the old man versions of Brad Pitt, which were completely photoreal at the time, and one of my jobs was just to texture his eyes. They were really trying very hard to get the eyes to look right. I had these super high-res stills of Brad Pitt, 5K, looking like he just woke up in the morning. I like to joke that I've spent more time staring into Brad Pitt's eyes than both Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie put together, because I had to match every minute fleck in his eye. For somebody who's wanting to get into matte painting, I get asked this question a lot. I always tell people to start at the beginning. Take drawing classes, take painting classes, take 2D design, take photography classes especially. Because there aren't very many formal programs to actually teach matte painting. Matte painting has always been kind of an apprentice to journeyman to master kind of program. You learn on the job, you learn as part of a team. To be a professional matte painter is, number one, everything begins in Photoshop. You've got to know some 3D. I use Maya as my 3D tool. I have some experience with compositing, After Effects, Nuke, anything that's current. And it helps a lot to understand cameras and lenses, because you're working from moving shots and you've got to understand what kind of lens you're looking at, lens distortion, because it has to be replicated when you marry it to the real thing. You have to have a good eye. You have to have a good sense of perspective, and color, and depth. You have to have patience, is a good way to put it, because it's a lot of time-consuming, tedious work. The life of a visual effects artist is long. You can work minimum 10 hours a day, usually 14. Like any business, you start at the very bottom. Sometimes you work for free, working on small independent projects, and then you start pushing your work. You got to get it in front of the right people at the right time, and sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's your skill. Be a good coworker. Because a lot of times your friends, your coworkers get you hired at the next gig. That's just simply the way this business works. It's not about what you know, it's who you know. Many times it's just perseverance. If you really want to do this as a matte painter, you got to work for it, pay attention to what's going on in the industry, read trade magazines, look at other people's work, look at the job advertisements, see who's hiring what and what skills they're requiring.